You're live. Ready to go.
All right, we're going to call to order the Special Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo,
I'm here.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Here.
Alderman Rivera,
I'm present.
Alderman Seager. Give us a high sign, Alderman Seager. And Alderman Newsome.
Present. Have a quorum. Approval of the minutes. I'm going to take a motion by Alderman Kirkwood, second by Alderman Moiseo, to approve the minutes from August 17th, 2020. Are there any questions on the motion?
No.
All those, roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Seager,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Public comment, would there be any public comment?
Madam
David?
Chair, there were no comments submitted to the Office of the City Clerk for the Finance and Purchasing Committee.
All right, thank you. New business, motion, item A. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Water Treatment Specialists LLC in the amount not to exceed $67,600 for
Oh, that's
September,
Keith Turner, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
for September 2020 to August 2021.
I'm David
And-
Mountain. Yeah.
and- Who is that talking?
You saw my information about the people.
Eric, you're not muted.
All right, let me start that again. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Water Treatment Specialists LLC in amount not to exceed $67,600 for September 2020 to August 2021 and $69,628 for September 2021 through August 2022 for the purpose of providing Class A operator support services to the city's water plant superintendent. Due to the nature of these services, a waiver to the competitive bidding process is granted pursuant to professional services exemption, section 2-458, subsection I-4, and the high degree of skill exemption, section 2-458, subsection I-5. I'm going to take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. Are there any questions to this motion, or would Mr. Dominguez want to say anything regarding this agenda item?
I would just like to say that we're having one person retired already. We haven't filled that position, and we have another employee that's on FMLA, and we have another supervisor that's going to be retiring on September 25th. He put in his resignation, well, his retirement this month. So we're looking to get some help as a backup.
Okay, and I understand this gentleman, Mr. Don Fernback, has been already working to some degree at the water plant, so he's versed on everything that's going on over there.
That's correct. And he only works like a day, maximum 2 days a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything that you would like to add, Attorney Long, Bob Long?
I think he's covered. Well, there is one more thing. Don Fernbach had been working for Baxter and Woodman at the plant for the last year or so. And I took, just to make sure there weren't any hard feelings or problems that arose, I contacted his former boss, John Ambrose, and he indicated that Baxter Woodman had no problem with this.
Okay. Are there any questions by any of the aldermen? All righty, roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Seager,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Item B, motion to retroactively authorize the proper city officials to execute a contract with Raymond and Sons Sewer and Water Incorporation in the amount not to exceed $26,100 for the purpose of an emergency repair for the property located at 824 North County Street and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinance exemption of a bona fide emergency waiver, Section 2-458, subsection I, subsection 2. I'm going to take a motion by Alderman Kirkwood, second by Alderman Rivera. And Larissa, would you like to speak to this? I know that it is coming to the council only because it went over the $25,000 mark, but would you like to speak to this item?
This was something that we had been working on kind of pre-COVID, and so it kind of like in the midst of trying to get it done, it went over the $25,000. So, we're bringing it before you now in order to be paid.
Okay. Are there any questions by any of the aldermen? Alderman Rivera?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to find out. So we went out to bid on this in June. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then it came back in June indicating 26,000. So why wasn't it brought up to us at that point?
Okay, so what ended up happening was, like I said, we had been trying to get the homeowners qualified and get all their paperwork and documentation pre-COVID. So once COVID happened, we couldn't go into their home. Meanwhile, they're still having a sewer issue. So what we do when it's an emergency, we need to get 3 proposals, or we go out for 3 proposals. So we got the 3 proposals. That was the cheapest one. That's who they wanted to go to. And so that's who we ended up going with. It was just missed in the haste of trying to get the sewer work repaired. And so when it came up for the bill to be paid, this is when it comes back up like this is over $25,000.
So, but the original proposal back in June was $26,000, over the $25,000.
Yes.
Okay. But then again, I question why wasn't it brought up? I mean, we knew in June that this was going to be $26,000.
Okay. Like I said, it was just missed. The rehab coordinator, he didn't catch it. We were just trying to get the work done. So it was missed then. So that's why we're bringing it before you now. They had been waiting months and months and months. And so the issue was to get it done right away as soon as we were able to get back into their home. So that was just missed. That was just kind of like an after sight in terms of, the importance of getting the sewer repair done in their home and the bill.
So at this time, that particular
Alderman
home
Kirkwood.
has been taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, so when was that work actually done?
Let's see.
Was it repaired prior to July 28th?
Yeah, the bill. Yeah, so he submitted the bill August 18th.
August 18th.
Yeah, so it was in between that time.
So we don't have a specific time that, if we knew in June and the work was done, I still don't hear when the work was done. I know a bill was submitted in August, but I guess
the contract was signed on.
Looks like it was July.
It was June 18th. The contract was actually signed. And so once the contract was signed, then they started the work. At that time, it should have been brought to council, but it wasn't. I approved it, but we just didn't bring it to council at that time. It was just an oversight of the $25,000.
okay. Well, my only comment is that we just need to make sure that we're being more insightful when we see things and try to make a note somewhere so that it's not, we're sitting here in September when some work that was authorized sometime in June. We just need to stay on top of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I agree.
Okay.
Mrs. Garland,
Are there
Yeah.
any,
hello?
are there any more, Alderman Seeger?
Yes, ma'am. So Mrs. Garland, all the repairs have been completed, correct?
The sewer repair has been completed, yes.
And is the family satisfied with the work?
Yes. We're going to go over, we're gonna have to do additional repair to and doing the work, the driveway had to be torn up, so that's the only thing we'll have to go back in, repair.
Okay,
Is that part of this 26,100?
No, it would be a completely different contractor.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
thank you,
Madam
Mrs. Garland.
Hold on, Alderman Kirkwood, Alderman Taylor.
I guess this is a question for our finance director. After we had the whole Grand Avenue bridge thing happen with the invoices that were not paid, I thought we set up a system that this kind of thing wouldn't happen. That there were certain like checkpoints that had to happen so that invoices didn't just go months and not get paid, and then we found out about them later. Am I just remembering this differently, or?
No, you're remembering it correctly. And we have not only procedures in place, but state law and city code. But departments have to follow those procedures and those standards. And purchasing and processing of payments is decentralized. This is being brought to city council. The invoice was presented to finance and would not be processed because it did not have city council minutes supporting that the payment could be released because it was over 25,000. So it did get caught at the point when the invoice was presented to finance for processing payment. What came up with the Grand Avenue Bridge, and we will be bringing the audit to you in October. One of the audit findings that we will have to discuss is that we have had some invoices that have been presented to the finance department pretty late, 60, 90 days, in some case 6 months after the invoice is received by the department that procured the service or the commodity. And one of the recommendations that we're going to be making moving forward as the finance department is that vendor invoices be addressed to the finance department. So the originals come to the finance department first, are time stamped and dated, and then sent to the departments for processing. Other than that, I'm not sure how else to address this.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to do something because we have been paying a ton of overdue things lately. So if the department heads cannot control that themselves, then, I mean, normally what would happen in a corporation is if you didn't do that, you would be written up, and that would go into your personnel file for not following the protocols. So if we're not doing it that way, well, then do we need to centralize this with finance, because we're getting a lot of this. And I don't think we can continue with this kind of problem. I mean, it's not fair to finance. How do you run a budget when you don't even know half of this? So that's
Madam Chairman, this is the mayor here. How are you doing, Madam Chairman? And thank you, Alderman, for bringing this to our attention. But I will give you a report following next week as to what procedures will be in place to address this. As far as CDBG is concerned, as we all know, when we approve the CDBG budget as a whole, we ultimately approve those things. What our corporate counsel has found is that all of this was going on over the last 20 years of my career, and I'm pretty sure the aldermen have been over there much longer than I have, or around the same time. We did not even bring these to city council, because when you approve the community development block grant overall budget, then you gave some of a blanket approval. We felt in the near future that we should bring all contracts to city council so they can be aware of. But to your point, Alderman Rivera, yes, it might have happened in June, we were not able to get in people's homes. And when these emergencies came up, we addressed them at that time because there was a need. So we dealt with the issue. As far as what procedures are being in place, I'm here to tell you right now, this mayor will bring you a process that you would have, that we would all adhere to on a admin level. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, but we needed to get these repairs done. But we can never promise that it won't happen again. Emergencies do happen, but we can assure you from a process standpoint, we'll try to be as close as humanly possible to following the process. No one understands that better than I do. I'm pretty sure Felix knows that, me too, being from the Allstate, and that's how I was trained. Thank you guys for bringing this to our attention again. Hopefully we can move past this point.
Alderman Kirkwood?
No, so in terms of the 25,000, if it was just 25,000, it wouldn't come to us. Is that correct?
Right.
Correct.
It wouldn't, Madam Chairman,
Alderman Moiseo?
if it was 24-9, this would never have been on our radar. It was 26-1, excuse me, so it was on our radar. I'm sure it's already in the CDB within the budget, but a sort of conflicting thing, as the mayor said, never before did we ever approve CDB payouts. That was in their budget. They had their money, yada, yada. It didn't have to come before. Am I right on that, Tina? I don't ever remember.
No, not
exactly. I
exactly.
can't remember, but I mean, if it was under 25,000, this wouldn't even be on our radar, correct?
Correct.
Right. So there's a couple different things that we're talking about. We're talking about approving budgets or appropriation, and CDBG has an extra layer, so they are appropriated, but they also have a plan that gets approved by City Council above and beyond that. That's filed with the federal government.
Right.
Then there's procurement. So items that any contract or commodity that will be $25,000 or more does have to be approved by City Council before that contract can be awarded. Every disbursement, whether it's payroll or it's an accounts payables check, does come before City Council. It's on the City Council agenda in the bill run or in payroll. So you will see all disbursements, whether it's CDBG or Public Works or the fire department, in one way or the other. But if a vendor is going to exceed $25,000, that needs to go to City Council, ideally prior to the obligation being entered into, which I think is some of what has been frustrating the last couple of months. But usually CDBG has more restrictive guidelines that they have to follow than even the City of Waukegan's guidelines as far as going out to bid. CDBG is subject to single audit, which is a more intense type of auditing than other city funds. So you will very rarely see something like this with CDBG that's after the fact. I know the CDBG department's already very small, and there's only 3 people running that whole department doing really good work. So this really was just an oversight issue. I don't think it speaks to a larger issue citywide. But as Alderman Taylor had brought up, we are seeing invoices that from time to time get submitted late. If we don't have the City Council minutes, and Ms. Garland can attest to this, finance won't process the payment. So that is a procedure that's in place to catch these types of things. And that's when you will see a change order coming forward.
Good enough.
I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina, for the simple explanation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item C, motion to authorize the retention of Peterson, Johnson, and Murray, LLC, to be added to the panel for outside defense counsel. And this is regarding the lawsuit with the push tax. So I'm going to take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. Attorney Long, did you want to speak to that agenda item?
I can add a couple of things if you'd like. The reason that that we thought of this particular law firm is they also represent the Village of Oak Lawn, And that's the first municipality that was sued for a push tax. Their ordinance is functionally identical to ours. The language is a little different, but it works the same way. And they have started and done some of the briefing in Chicago on that case already. And there are two different things about it. One is you gain a little bit of assistance by having the same firm, or you gain some efficiencies by having the same firm that's going to be using the same research that they've already done. So there should be a bit of a savings in that, but there's also an ability to speak with one voice to this particular issue, which is increasing, and there are a number of municipalities that are either looking at this or have adopted ordinances. So we want to make sure that if we're going to be all on the same page, it's best to be all on the same page from the beginning and not try to catch there later on down the road. Finally, my firm and I will be serving as local counsel and working co-counsel with them to try to keep the costs down.
Alderman Kirkwood and Alderman Rivera.
Corporation Counsel, in terms of the number of municipalities that has this push tax, I know that Alderman Mosio first brought this to us. Do we foresee more municipalities being sued because of this push tax?
Until there's a ruling from the courts, probably, and there's a good chance it's not going to be solved at the trial court level, but may take an appellate court ruling. And unless the statute itself is changed in some fashion or another, which, Springfield always has the right to do that with this kind of legislation. But absent those two things, I think in time once the court cases come out and the courts start accepting that there are in fact that this is within the corporate powers of home rule municipalities, I think you'll see a larger push for it. I would point out that initially one of the ways in which we set our own individual licensing fees and the rest of this stuff actually comes out of another lawsuit that was originally brought against the city of Elgin. This is the way that the statutes that are written by humans and perhaps messed a little bit with in the political process of getting adopted, you end up with language that sometimes leaves openings for people to either exploit for the good or exploit for the bad. So there's points of argument, and whenever there's a point of argument, there's a lawyer out there that's willing to argue it for them if you give them a few bucks. And maybe not a few, it might be more than that.
Alderman Rivera.
Thank you, Bob, for that explanation. So the city council adopted to go to a push tax, and we're getting sued.
Yeah.
Okay, so
right.
The city tried to implement some changes so we can generate some revenue, and this is going to cost us money now at this point, correct?
For the time being, the money will need to be paid eventually, assuming that the case is won, and we still think that this is a viable tax.
Okay, so if we were to get rid of the push tax, would we avoid litigation, and could we go to an increased fee where we can gradually increase the fees over the next couple of years versus the push tax?
You're not going to make up that difference. There's a big difference. Tina can probably speak to the numbers better than I can, but a penny a push is what you've adopted, and then there's hundreds of thousands of pushes every year, and it adds up to serious amounts of money. If right now I think your licenses are what, $1,000 or $1,200 a machine, I forget, because they're different in every town I deal with. And you have about 100 and some odd establishments, 5 or 6 machines per establishment. So you might have 600, 700 machines. The most you could generate off of that by adding even another $1,000 onto it would be $700,000. That's still less than the push tax was predicted to bring in on an annualized basis.
Okay, but my question is, if we got rid of the push tax, would we avoid litigation?
Well, you could kill the legislation today, repeal the repeal it and the lawsuit would go away. That's all they're after.
Okay.
All that's involved in the lawsuit. I would point out one other factor here, though. Push tax is a tax on the consumer brought through the terminal operator, which is the middleman, not the manufacturer of the machines and not the sort of the distributor, not the local bar. If you increase the fee on the licensing fee, that would fall on the local bar or tavern or restaurant owner.
Alderman Florian.
Oh,
I have spoke to several people I know that own establishments that have the gaming machines, and I think you're wrong about that, Mr. Long. In most cases, they don't pay the permit fee. The owner of the machines pays the permit fee for them. So I don't think that the local businesses pay that fee. I don't know if we keep track of that as a city, but the people I've reached out to say they don't pay the permit fee themselves. They didn't pay to set up the dividers and all that stuff that had to be done for the COVID. The machine owners do all of that.
That may be a matter of convenience and a matter of custom. It is not law. That's not required by the statute or by our local code. Yeah.
Alderman Moiseo.
We knew this was coming. This was controversial. It was a way to generate revenue. Bob has made most of my points. Alderman Florian, I've reached out to. That is a deal between the terminal operator and the bar owner. That's their own private deal. That those guys are, by law, those guys are, I think, allowed to give the bar marketing money, if I'm right, Bob. If that's what the statute says, if that marketing money is then used to pay for the terminal fee, that's between two private businessmen. Got nothing to do with the city. And Bob is also right. We could raise it on the local bar owners who haven't been open for 6 months, or we can get into the deep pockets of the terminal operators. And I think coming out of COVID, I'm hoping that the court and the state will understand that every bar owner and every municipality is looking for literally every penny we can get. So I would hope that they would side with us to help us get us out of this economic downturn that we have, be much more sentimental to us. I mean, maybe not. So it's going to come down to what the law says and who has a better argument. That's always what happens in court. But we knew this was coming because this is a lot of money that we can generate. And it's a lot of money that these guys might have to pay. But, you know, I keep going back to what not most of my friends, but supporters, constituents, however you want to look at it, they said, if we're going to have gambling, we're going to have machines, we're going to have a casino, get as much money and get the best deal for the city of Waukegan you can. And this is definitely the best deal for the city of Waukegan, in my opinion. Thank you.
I have a question. Mr. Long, during this period that there's litigation, are these owners required to still pay until, or are they not required to pay since they have filed a lawsuit?
The money no, they're going to have to account for that money. The terminal operators you're talking about?
Yeah, for the push tax. You know, we have the tax, right, and by law, they're supposed to be paying.
That's correct.
Can they refuse to pay until litigation is finished, or do they have to keep paying and wait to the back end to find out who wins?
Well, that's one of the more interesting things. See, if they don't make the payments, they can be fined and held in, at least unless the court says we can't, you know, or something. But generally speaking, we can issue a fine. Good.
I'm not hearing Bob. He keeps breaking up.
You're going in and out, Mr. Long.
Doing my best here, folks. Most of them are filing tax returns that in which they raise various defenses and such. They're supposed to pay the tax. If they don't pay the tax, they can be fined, and we can issue a letter that says they're not in good standing. We can then send that, and that is reported back to the Illinois Gaming Board, and then their licensing with the state becomes jeopardized. It's one of the reasons that they're as touchy about this as they are.
Okay.
But eventually they will have, whether it's now or if they get an injunction, if the tax is upheld, at some point they will have to pay back all that money.
Does our ordinance specifically have that verbiage regarding any penalties if there and what the penalties would be?
Yes, there are penalty provisions in the ordinance. I can't quote them for you right here, but I can find them for you and send it to you.
All right. Was it Alderman Taylor?
How long do we expect the litigation to take? Like 2 years, 1 year? I mean, do we have any idea?
It's never easy to predict how long litigation takes. I will tell you this, they started the Cook County case back just before the COVID thing hit. And they haven't gotten to past square one yet. So that's one of the reasons that that there's an interest in proceeding in Lake County, because cases here take on average 1/5 as long as they do in Chicago. So with it's conceivable, considering that this is just a question of law, what lawyers would call a question of law. There's not a lot of facts to dispute. There's probably not going to be a trial. There shouldn't be much in the way of discovery. It'll be arguments on the legal merits of what was done and whether it's legal or not. Those are the cases that go fastest. So with luck, this should be over with, and we should have a ruling from the trial court somewhere within about a year, maybe less. And if there is an appeal, it will take 6 to 9 months afterwards.
I will take a roll call on that motion, Ms. Tina.
Alderman Rivera,
No.
Alderman Seeger,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to adjourn. I'll take a motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood to adjourn at 6:49. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seeger,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye, motion carried. Council meeting at 10.
Madam Chairman.